Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel and welcome to this month's webisode with Tiffany, where we're talking all things Nashville real estate, giving you guys a market update. We're talking about a couple of new communities, and then we're also going to share a crazy story of what happened to Tiffany with some showings at one point. So stay tuned for that. But let's first go ahead and dive into what is happening in our market. So we're in the midst of our spring market. We're about to transition into summer. And this spring season has been just a little bit different than normal.
Yeah.
So, and I know that you and I have both felt it. Like, honestly, we thought it was gonna be a little bit more wild than at least what April was, right?
Sure.
Like, as we were in February, we started to see the signs. We're like, if this continues, you like better hang on.
Yeah.
But April, and even our statistics show, April was actually a slower month than kind of what we're used to.
Yeah, and sort of what we had anticipated as an overall whole,
Which is really, really interesting because, again, I think I've mentioned this in a previous episode, but it was like, the weekend after the inauguration, all of a sudden we started to see some multiple opportunities come back to the market.
Yes.
And our market is still in this just like really weird spot where April was slow, right? So if we actually look at our statistics from Greater Nashville Realtors, every month they're releasing what happened the month prior, you know, and this is for all of Middle Tennessee. This is not just like Nashville or Franklin or whatever. We're looking at all the counties that encompass Middle Tennessee. And so when we look at it, we actually had a 3% decrease in sales this April compared to last April.
Yeah.
And April's like traditionally like April and May typically are our strongest sales months until, you know, we get towards the fall.
Yeah.
But that's typically what we see, right? But our numbers are down and we even felt that. And so it's like when you look back at like what we kind of saw in the winter, especially after the inauguration happened, things started to take off, but then April just slowed down a little bit.
It really did.
And I think part of that was like there was all this economic uncertainty and things were being thrown around. So I do think that we felt the impact.
Yes.
But I also think what's really, really interesting as we look at our numbers, right? So it's saying average for the whole Middle Tennessee area. Average days on market is 50 days. That's definitely up because when we were, you know, typically this time of year, we've been used to seeing around 30 to 40 days, right?
Exactly.
But now we're seeing 50. So, and before people say like our market's about to go downward, we're going to talk about that because that's not that's not where we're going with this. We're just seeing, I think, a little bit more stabilization.
Sure.
But I say that, and then at the same time, it's like if the home is still priced right and marketed well, it can go in the first weekend, and we're still seeing certain homes getting multiple offers on them.
Absolutely.
So, you know, you can't, and that's why we always say real estate's hyper local, because you can't just say like, oh, everything is slowing down, or oh, this is happening. Like different pockets, different communities, different price points, different things are happening within it.
Absolutely.
And then if we take a look, inventory for all of Middle Tennessee is up 27%.
Yeah.
So more people are coming to the market, which we haven't seen people want to come to the market. You know, one of the biggest fears that we've seen are people saying like, I don't want to lose my low interest rate.
Sure. Yes.
Right? And I mean, I've even been guilty of that. You know, when we were trying to make a decision of like whether we put in a pool or whether we move to a house with a pool.
Yeah.
Our low interest rate was a deciding factor.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
So we've seen where folks have like not wanted to come to the market, but people are coming to the market, which inventory's up, which is great. But if you're on the sell side, that's where things like looking at absorption rate, looking at the market data, what's happening in your neighborhood, pricing right, making the home look attractive, all of those things really, really matter. And when you do that, you're positioning yourself to be in an area where you're more likely to see that lesser days on market than more days on market. And then the other thing is we have a total of 5 months worth of inventory on the market.
Yeah.
So for folks that are, you know, we're talking about 50 days, 5 months, what does all of that mean? Well, when we're saying 50 days on market, that's the average of what it's taking a home from the time it goes on the market to the time it gets a contract. Now, when we talk about the months of inventory, it's saying that if no new homes came to the market, it would take a total of 5 months before all of those homes got contract, in theory. So that's just kind of where we're sitting at. But as we've talked about, it's hyper local. So now we're going to take a look at Franklin. Like where's Franklin and where's Brentwood sitting here?
Yeah, so exactly. Like even how you were just saying, there can be variances between counties. So that was for all of Middle Tennessee. But when we're specifically looking at just the Franklin area within Williamson County, we're seeing inventory up by 7%.
Which is great because especially in the last like couple of years, I mean, when we say inventory, we have to remember that if we're looking back at inventory time frames, we got to go back to like 2019 to see what a more like stabilized market was, because once summer of 2020 hit, our market took off and was wild for like a good year and a half. So if we're when we're looking at data and trying to analyze it, it's always really good to go back to 2019 to see where that is, to see where we are in comparison. Yeah. So even though inventory's up, we're still below our levels of where we were in 2019.
Exactly.
But more people are coming to the market.
True. I was about to say, yeah. And so even though how we were looking at 50 days average days on market, within Franklin, we're seeing an average of about 31 days. Yep. And then we're also seeing an increase in price point, about 4%, sitting around that $1.3 million price point, which is fantastic. Exactly.
And that's the other thing. So when you hear, because I know that there's been a lot of headlines out there and they're talking about things like, are we on the precipice of a recession, or maybe now we're not? There's a lot of things happening, right? And so that can instill a lot of fear, which we have seen with our April numbers in the Middle Tennessee area.
Sure.
But at the same time, you have to remember that a recession does not equal home prices decreasing. Correct. In the last 4 out of 5 recessions, home prices actually increased, with, of course, 2008 being the exception to that rule. So even if a recession comes, the Franklin, the Williamson County area has so many factors in play, from the highly rated school scores to the desirability of that area, which really helps insulate that area. And the Middle Tennessee area, look at the things in Tennessee, right? Low property taxes, no state income tax, all of those factors, why people continue to move. Yep. So we still have that demand, which demand plus our inventory not still being back up to 2019 levels.
Sure.
Of course, prices are going to go up. So if you're somebody that is, and we've gotten this question several times.
Yes.
When are prices going to come down? Should I wait? The answer is going to be, you're going to be waiting a long time. Now, we are seeing sellers offering concessions, so there is that opportunity. But even when I went and looked at the numbers for Franklin, they're still averaging between 97 and 99% of list price for the sales price. So we're not seeing these massive hits. No. The area is still growing, it's still appreciating, so we're still seeing all of these factors that continue an upward trajectory, but that doesn't mean that you can't see some price reductions, and it doesn't mean that you can't see seller concessions, which is great. It gives buyers that are willing to get in now have more negotiating power than maybe they've had in the previous couple of years. And then if we want to look from Franklin into Brentwood, let's see. Then if we want to look into Franklin into Brentwood, inventory in Brentwood is actually only up 1%. So we haven't seen a huge growth there when it comes to Brentwood, but average sales price point, it's actually up 17%, and it's just sitting a little bit shy of 1.7 million. And I actually have had this question recently. So when it comes to, when we're talking about Brentwood, that average sales price is going to be for existing homes. Now, when we're looking at new construction in Brentwood, you can find a few opportunities that sit between that like 2.7 to 3 range. But now most new construction opportunities in Brentwood, average sales price point is going to be $3 million and above. Oh, and then average days on market in Brentwood, it's very close to Franklin. It's sitting at 28. So still really strong. And a good thing to remember when we're looking at these statistics is when we're looking at days on market, anything that is from 0 to 4 months considered a seller's market. Anything 5 to 6 is considered neutral, and then 6+ is where we are starting to be into a buyer's market. So we're still Middle Tennessee. We're still on an upward trajectory, but it is really, really interesting.
It is.
To see kind of what's happened.
Yeah. Even from what we had anticipated walking into this year, from the predictions of January, and even conversations I've had with other agents, just what they're experiencing as well. So,
but it is good to know, like if you're thinking about moving here, just know that it's always really important to, like, if you're looking at certain areas, to make sure that you're actually getting the proper information and data. Please, please, please do not listen to headlines. And for anyone that hasn't seen any of my previous market update videos, so I actually come from a news background, and so I can tell you, like, I worked in local news. Like, the headlines, all of that, it's meant for clickbait. It's helping the advertisers get what they're paying for. And ultimately, real estate is very nuanced. Like, there's several factors that you have to look at to start to see those trends. And honestly, a news professional doesn't know how to look at it, doesn't typically have access to that data. And so they're not going to know how to interpret it. And so it's really important to make sure, you know, if you're trying to make those decisions, talking to a real estate advisor, trying to just like make sure what is best for you and your family versus just, of course, listening to the headlines, because at the end of the day, the news world, they're just a conduit of information. They're not professionals in this space. And so I feel like that's always the battle that you and I are up against.
Yes.
Is the headlines.
Yes. And trying to diminish the fear that is brought about due to that. Yes.
Yes, exactly. So that's my little soapbox moment. And that's like probably always going to be a thing for me. But all of that to say. So now I'm really excited, because we're going to talk about a property that we both toured recently.
Incredible.
Incredible. We've seen some like really stunning properties in the Middle Tennessee area, but this one to me was in a league all of its own.
Yeah, I mean, if it's not in the top 3, it's definitely in the top 5 of most incredible homes we've had the opportunity to go through.
And so we're going to tell you a little bit more about, so this home, it's actually going to be located in Murfreesboro. So I know we talk a lot about Franklin, Brentwood, you know, College Grove, and honestly, this home seems like it should belong in that area. However, this home is located in Murfreesboro. It's going to be in the southern part of Murfreesboro, and it sits on 10 acres. And so if we can try to paint the picture, because we will share the video of this home, but if we could paint the picture, to me, what it was like the perfect blend of like luxury resort feel to the home. Like I mean, it was very neutral color palette, a lot of earth tones, not like deep dark earth tones, but very neutral. And honestly, I say this, like, I've never been to a resort in Mexico, but like I envision that's like what it is from photos. But it's also in the midst of like beautiful acreage in Middle Tennessee. So you're taking like luxury resort and blending it with like the serene beauty of the Middle Tennessee area, and it just works. Yeah.
The attention to detail. I just felt calm the minute I walked into the property. It was, I mean, resort is the perfect way to explain it. It was like just
upscale,
beautiful.
Luxury, adult resort. Yeah. The other thing that I thought was really interesting about it, and I'm not somebody to be like, I'm into vibes, or like I'm not big into like using that. I think vibe is overused nowadays, but like it was one of those that it had a very organic flow to it.
Yes, it did. Right? It made sense, and you could tell there was a lot of thought put into that as well.
And it actually, the home is laid out in the shape of an H.
Yes.
And so, you know, you enter into the heart of the home. The kitchen is this long, beautiful space. It's got this open butler's pantry, windows that overlook the backyard pool, which is gorgeous. And then on one wing side is where you're going to find your primary retreat, and then the other side you have another living space. You've got the additional like secondary bedrooms, but the primary retreat, or the primary suite rather, was unreal.
Truly
unreal.
I mean, the primary closet.
Oh,
I mean,
yes.
I mean, I don't think we've walked through ever a home where there have been so many moments where it's like you literally turn the corner and Caitlin's like, wow.
Yeah. Well, and the great thing is, you know, in this home, you do have his and her closets, but they're set up like a luxury boutique.
Truly.
I mean, the way that the lighting, the built-ins, the displays, like, it's absolutely beautiful. And then it just naturally flows. Oh, and the other part about it, there's his and her toilets.
I've never seen that in a house. Brilliant idea, but never seen it.
Never seen it. His and her toilets. It is in the same space, and to me it just reminded me of like a spa, like with the way they did like the divider curtain. But yeah, there's his and her toilets.
Did you show Todd
No,
the picture?
I don't think so.
I showed John, and he wanted to call our builder and have the bathroom reworked.
But I mean, I think it's a brilliant idea.
It's great. I love it. Yeah.
But then, and then additionally on the property, they do have this beautiful pool house.
Oh my gosh, I could live there.
Oh, it was gorgeous. Absolutely beautiful. I mean, just from the design features, which the owner of it is in the interior design world. But again, I think I was just like so captivated by like the natural flow of the house. Yeah. And especially on the owner's retreat side, you didn't have a lot of doors. Like there wasn't a door to shut off from, there was a door to his closet, but not to hers. But it's just like, there's just this like natural flow. Yeah. Okay, so without further ado, we're gonna show you this home. Now it is 4 beds, 4.5 baths. It sits just shy of 6,500 square feet, and it's listed right at 3.8 million. Now it is a Compass private exclusive, so you're not gonna be able to find it on the MLS just yet. But with this video, you get to take a look inside, so enjoy. So again, that is located on Cedar Grove Road in the Murfreesboro area. It's absolutely beautiful. If you're interested in learning more, please feel free to send us a message. We would be happy to get you in. The agent on the other side is wonderful. But again, that home is so special. Like
truly incredible. A work of art, truly.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely love it. Okay, so up next, we're gonna talk about 2 new communities. So one's in Brentwood, one's in Mount Juliet. So up first is gonna be Prim Farm. So this is a new community. I have a video coming out about this community very soon. Yeah. But this is a new community of only 25 homes. So it's not very big. And this is gonna be in a prime time location in Brentwood. It's gonna be off of Moore's Lane, right near everything that Cool Springs has to offer. So this is a community where most lot sizes are going to be a little bit bigger. It's going to be at least a third, if not half an acre, or even up to a little less than an acre. It just depends on which lot. I believe as of the recording of this video, there's either 5 or 6 opportunities left. So this isn't a community where you can go and pick your lot and pick your floor plan. This is where builders have the assigned lots. There's only 6 builders within this community. And so they've already chosen the spec home that's going on the lot, but depending on where it is in construction, maybe you have the opportunity for selections. It really just depends on what's already been ordered or what's come in. But this is a beautiful community. In some of the homes, this is great. Some of the homes are even coming with swimming pools, which is fantastic. So you don't have to go through the build process and all of that. Some of these, it's absolutely wrapped up, which is really great. You do have 1 or 2 opportunities to get in below the 3 million price point. Otherwise, it ranges from about 3 to 7 million within the community. And we actually went to a broker's open at one of the builder spec homes that was completed. Beautiful. Like, yeah, it's like we have the same brain. But it was absolutely beautiful. And it's a really nice community too. Yes. The house that we went into, it did have its own pool. It was kind of funny while we were there. A hailstorm came through
in April.
So that was a little wild for us. But I mean, if you are somebody that's really looking for quality finishes, you can tell as you walk through these homes, like, I mean, they're luxury builders. They're not cutting corners, but you can tell like there is an attention to detail with their final product. So again, stay tuned because there is a video just giving you an inside look more at the Prim Farm area, talking more about the location and all of that. So be sure to keep an eye out for that. But then Tiffany has another Mount Juliet community that is new.
Yeah, so this is a community that I'm really excited to share with you guys. So this is a new community. It's a luxury gated community, which is pretty unique to Mount Juliet. We've got a few gated communities. However, this is the newest, and these lots started about 3/4 of an acre, similar to yours. And a lot of people that's one of the biggest things we get asked for in like the Mount Juliet areas. They're wanting a larger lot size. So all of these homes are going to be built by Universal Builders. Okay. And this community is going to have about 50 home sites, and like I said, sitting at about 3/4 of an acre, which allows you plenty of room to put in a pool, which is something that a lot of people are always looking for. And proximity, Providence is the main shopping area over in the Mount Juliet area. That's got your Target, your TJ Maxx, grocery stores, all the things, and you're only about 3 to 4 minutes straight down South Mount Juliet Road. But then also you have about 5-minute commute to get to the lake that's right there. You're off right by Old Hickory Lake, tons of hiking trails over there. And this community, I went through it in the past week, and it's beautiful. You are surrounded, almost every lot's going to back up to a private tree line, which is really nice. Yes. You're not looking at your neighbors. And the finishes in these homes, once again, attention to detail and just gorgeous, stunning. So price point starts at about 1.5 million, and they've got about 18 home sites that have been built out, but that still leaves plenty of opportunity.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Now, do you know if this is one where you can pick the lot and build, or is the builder already dictating maybe the floor plan that's going on the lot?
So I believe the floor plan is dictated, but they're not doing a lot release where it's like you could go in there and say, I really like this floor plan, and then you can go select your lot. And I drove all the way back through, and it kind of ends in a cul-de-sac at the end of it. So truly, I don't feel like there's going to be a bad lot in this community. You're not,
especially if you're backing to trees.
Exactly, and they're heavy tree lines. So you're not, you've really got the privacy, and then the larger lot size just affords you a lot of, privacy.
And we love the new construction process. It's really fun to walk clients through. Yeah. We've got one client that's getting ready to close on a new construction, and for folks that don't know, like if you are building from afar, like if you're not moving until your home's complete, we do weekly or bi-weekly video updates throughout the process. And it's really, really fun to watch a home come to life, like especially when you see it when there's just nothing on the lot, and then you go to the design center together, and then you see it come to life. Like, we absolutely love the new build process.
Yes. Absolutely. And actually, with this community Mount Juliet, I'm getting ready to shoot a video and put it on my new YouTube channel that I've launched. It's Tiffany Hadley, Nashville Real Estate. And I'm really excited to share it with you guys. So all of this information, but I'm going to give you guys a drive tour and just some of the ins and outs, and hopefully I'll get to walk through a couple of the floor plans with you guys.
And we'll make sure, so if you're interested in the Mount Juliet area, that is like Tiffany's specialty, just because that's like part of where you live.
Where I live.
So, in order to help serve more clients looking to move to the area, if you are interested in learning more about Mount Juliet, Tiffany is the place to go and do that. Okay, so up next, we're gonna talk about a new restaurant that's come to Nashville. This restaurant is called V Modern Italian, with V being the Roman numeral for 5. Okay. So the chef that has started this restaurant concept was a Michelin star chef, I believe, in Italy, and has now trying to bring this new, it's almost like trying to combine nightlife with an Italian restaurant. Okay. So when we went, my husband and I went, and we sat outside because there's outdoor seating. It's located in the Gulch, so near downtown. So if you're coming in town, this is a great place. Like if you're staying downtown and you enjoy Italian, this could be a great place to go. So they don't have a very extensive menu, but it is really good. And what the waitress told us was, because the chef is actually from Italy, or has family roots in Italy, the red sauce is like his specialty. So we got the meatballs as an appetizer with red sauce, very fresh, very good. Nice. And then I ended up getting the black truffle pizza. Like they have pasta and some other dishes, but they also have a pizza menu, and I love truffles, so I was like, I've got to try it. So it's really, really good. Something to know though, as it gets later into the evening, they do have a DJ that plays inside. Okay. So it can be a little more of like a party atmosphere. And we weren't there when the music was like really loud. Sure. So I don't know, like, I'm just somebody that, like, when I'm having dinner, I want to be able to like have a conversation and like hear the other person.
Yes.
So that is something to keep in mind with it. But like overall, if you're looking for Italian, it's a great place to go, like really close to downtown Nashville.
Awesome. I love that. I'm gonna have to check it out too.
Okay, now we're about to share a really fun real estate story, but one thing that I did want to point out, Chicago, in the Illinois area continues to be a really big feeder city for Nashville. So if you are coming from that area, I know that in Illinois, when you do real estate transactions, it can be real estate attorney to real estate attorney facilitating the transaction.
Yep.
So here in the Middle Tennessee area, we're actually title to title. So there's not a need for a real estate attorney. Now, one of the title companies that we work with, the owner of it is a real estate attorney, which I do find to be just really beneficial. Just for any sort of question that may come up during the process. But it's something to know that if you are used to having a real estate attorney, you do not have to have one. Now, we did have a transaction last year, and this was definitely, a luxury price point that we were working in with this transaction. And a local attorney was brought on just as a way to keep eyes on everything, I guess. And one of the terms in determining the contract, one of the terms that he suggested was having a survey done. And so if you're looking to move to the area, typically surveys are done when you're buying land or you're buying a property that sits on a lot of land so that you can be very well aware of what your property boundaries look like. If you are buying within a residential neighborhood, most of the time you're not doing a survey because things are pretty clear as to where things are. And in this particular deal, there was it was in an established neighborhood. Now, granted, the lots were acre and a half or so. But the real estate attorney insisted on it, and he wanted it to be a part of the due diligence inspection contingency. Well, something to know, if you are interested in doing a survey, and again, this was more unique because we typically don't see this with residential transactions in an established neighborhood, but surveys can take anywhere typically from 30 days to like 6 weeks is normally a really good range to expect a survey to be done. But within that, there were a lot of factors that went into navigating this portion of it. But one thing to know, and the biggest concern, and the reason why this was brought up in the first place, was this attorney had been aware of or part of a lawsuit where this home in the middle of nowhere, Tennessee, part of the house was built over the property line. It caused like the back corner of the house to have to come down. It was like a whole thing, right? Well, to help give some reassurance, because there was, again, a lot of things were transpiring. We were making a lot of calls to building codes and all of that. This took place within Williamson County. And so Williamson County is very strict in their building codes. And so they have building inspectors come out throughout the build process in order to continue to give the green light to permit for the build to move through. One thing that we learned was that in Williamson County, if a home is already being built over a setback or being built over a property line, it will not pass codes. So if you are buying even a new construction home in an established neighborhood, especially within Williamson County, like that should help give you peace of mind, because again, the whole basis of the reason for that survey came from an area that has far less regulations than what we have in Williamson County. And so that is something that it's like, if someone wants to bring on a real estate attorney, like we have no problem with that, right? Like, but for us, it's just, we also, I hope in sharing this gives reassurance to folks that like, when it comes to like, is a house being built over a setback? Is a house being built over a property line? You're not, like the house isn't even going to be able to get certificate of occupancy if it is. So that is just something. But again, if someone wants to bring on a real estate attorney to advise them, look over the contract terms, no problem whatsoever. It's just like, as you're going through the process, make sure that they aren't bringing an issue per se from like somewhere outside of our area into our area that like really isn't an issue here. It was a great learning experience. got through it. And again, this wasn't even so much the client as it was a suggestion from an attorney from, you know,
Sure.
experience in another part of the state. But again, this just speaks to the strict building codes and building standards within Williamson County that even if you want to have a survey done, just feel rest assured that maybe a fence could cross something.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, the actual house is going to be
Structure.
within the building envelope, and it's not going to pass codes if it is. So
Yeah.
that's just one thing that we've experienced that we like to share. But then, as we promised at the beginning of the episode, Tiffany, you have a fun real estate story. And I want to say that, like, I tried to ask you this in the first episode and we couldn't think about it, but you have a really good story involving showings and the cops.
And I don't just leave it at that.
Showings and cops.
Right. And it's funny because until you brought this up, it had just completely slipped my mind. So
Because it happened like 2 or 3 years. 2 years
I know,
ago?
like 2 years
Yeah.
ago. Yeah. So I was meeting these clients who were relocating.
Yeah.
They were in for one of our marathon weekends where we were going to do back-to-back showings. And I was meeting them for the first time. And I had gotten to the property early. I went in, and this home was probably 5,000 square feet.
Yeah.
Pretty large. And I go in, I'm trying to get some lights on. Well, to get in the front door, there was a security system, and it starts doing its like countdown, like beep, beep, beep. And I'm trying desperately to find the security box. Well, I did not get to the security box and get it shut off quick enough. And it starts sounding alarms. And by the time I get it shut off, it was maybe like 3 to 4 minutes, and the clients were going to be pulling up, and all of a sudden this cop pulls up from Williamson County. Impeccable response time. I mean, it was probably 3 minutes. He gets out, and I'm, you know, like I greet him, and I was like, I'm sorry, I just didn't get to, you know, the security system to shut it off quick enough. Well, then our clients pull in. First time meeting us. We've got backup in the driveway. And they're like, is everything okay? And like, we actually joked about that throughout the entire transaction, where they were like, oh, you don't have an entourage with you today. But I mean, it was so funny. I've never been in that position. And then meeting him for the first time, I was like, hi, I'm Tiffany. It's so nice to meet you in person.
And were you like trying to get a hold of the agent to like get the code? Or
yes.
Well,
and I couldn't figure out how to finagle it because it was like the whatever button after the code you had to like put in either a check mark or a pound sign, and it was a mess.
I promise we are far more capable. It's just like, it's like crazy things literally. I mean, I think the worst thing, I mean, obviously cops showing up, not great, but the clients were great.
Yes.
But it's like, what I hate is when the door lock literally won't open.
Oh,
like
no.
you and I
Sweating.
You and I were not out that long ago, again, doing marathon showings.
Yes.
And like we were at the one house, and it's like, it just wasn't.
No.
It wasn't going.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I promise I am capable. But like, that's another thing that if you're selling, please make sure your door locks and your key work seamlessly, because that actually can give a negative first impression when folks are trying to get into the house to see it.
Absolutely. So,
but it's all things you wouldn't think about. But yeah, you know, like crazy things happen in real estate, you know, but you make the best of it.
Yep.
And you move on. Like, I know that a lot of people watch things like Selling Sunset and they think that it's like all glamour, and there's just like a lot of crazy things that can happen.
And they sit down to more meals in that restaurant, in that show, than I think I've ever.
Meals are
in the car, on the go,
or on the go.
Yeah, yesterday I had a granola bar and some white cheddar popcorn.
Yep.
So that's
absolutely.
Yeah. That's the reality.
All right. Well, thank you so much for sticking with us for another episode of this still unnamed monthly webisode. But if you ever have questions about moving to the Middle Tennessee area, if you ever have questions about what's happening in our real estate market, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. All of our contact information is below. Again, I'm Caitlin Martin.
I'm Tiffany Hadley.
We'll see you next time.